people who worked on the cemetery. We've got lots of descendants. We've got a really nice mix of people here tonight for the celebration, and what a celebration it is. So first, I want to fill you in a little bit on the history of the Carrithers family. So I found a new book, and Mary Lou, you are going to be so excited with what I'm going to read. Okay. So Adam Carrithers was born on October 1st, 1783 in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. He's buried in the Carrithers family burying ground. He came to Kentucky in 1796, and on September 18th of 1803, he settled on the farm where he died. The author of this book attended the 100th anniversary of the settlement of this farm in 1903. Adam Carrithers came to Kentucky with his parents in 1796, and they settled near Wakefield Station. This is information that's new to me. He first married Mary Cunningham. She died. Then he married Mary Elizabeth Miller Montgomery. She died, and he married Arsenic Harding. The parents of Adam Carrithers were James and Mary Carrithers. They were born in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, and it's said that James Carrithers served in the Revolutionary War in Pennsylvania. This book. So the book, I stumbled upon it when I was looking up another family.
Yeah.
And it goes down, and then all of a sudden in the, not the glossary, the index, it said Dale. And I'm like, Dale? And so I turned to the page with Dale, and it says Delancey Dale. And I'm like, what?
Delancey, yeah.
And Delancey Dale married Ruth Carrithers. Ruth Carrithers was one of Adam's daughters. So then I started reading, I turned to the page, and it says this: James Carrithers served in the Revolutionary War. So,
That's right.
James and Mary Carrithers came to Kentucky in 1796 and settled near Wakefield Station. They first lived in a fort. So back in the times where you had to live in a fenced-in area to be safe, they settled in the fort. So then James Carrithers, the son of James and Mary, he settled on this farm. And in 1821, the first person is buried in the Carrithers family, what did they call it? Family burying, I loved how they said it. Family burying ground. So the first person's buried in the family burying ground in 1821. But in 1824, he establishes that he is making this 3/4 acres a cemetery. So from then on, it was a cemetery, and now it's owned by the state, and the state protects this cemetery. So I want to read you a little bit more because I just love how descriptive they are in this book. So it says, Delancey Dale and Ruth Carrithers were married. Upon their marriage, Delancey and Ruth went to housekeeping in their Jefferson County home in the Route neighborhood. So isn't that interesting? Now we know that's Spencer County, Wilsonville area, but back then it was Jefferson County in the Route neighborhood. There they lived and reared their family. They are buried in the Carrithers family graveyard. The author knew Grandpa and Grandma Dale. Delancey Dale was a short, heavyset man, highly respected and loved by all. Ruth Carrithers resembled in size Sarah Delano Roosevelt. She was quiet and unassuming. The last time the author saw her was shortly before her death. She visited the author's folks in Missouri just before her death in the company of Charles, Dale, and wife, and Anna Beard and husband. So I just love how they make the descriptions and compare them. It just fills in a little bit of the holes that we've been missing. So another neat thing about restoring a cemetery is you get to find out a little bit of the history. You get to uncover some of the stories. When I was reading from this book, so Adam had 3 wives. Arsenic was the 3rd wife. She didn't have any children. But if you look on her headstone, it says beloved grandma. And so that just tells me that the Carrithers, they were a very loving, caring family because they called her grandma, even though none of them were blood related to Arsene. They still considered her grandmother. So that's one of the things you get to find out when you go through the cemetery and you start restoring it. You get to fill in the holes of the story. Sometimes you get lucky and you find a book. Sometimes you get those little clues. So today we're going to go through the restoration of the cemetery, and I'm going to show you some of the fun discoveries we've made and show you some of the people who've done the restoration. So this all started with a husband and wife team. Kathy McLean and Dwayne McLean, and Dwayne McLean, gosh, I'm getting tongue-tied. Mr. McLean taught all 5 of my kids. Bless his heart. He had them do a family history project where they had to look up family history and find artifacts and make discoveries. And when my kids got through doing that, they decided, you know what, Mom? Let's start fixing up cemeteries. I kind of stalled on that one. I said, oh, I don't know about that one. I don't know. So I stalled and I stalled and I stalled. And then we drove by the Carrithers Cemetery one day and the kids said, that's the one. Unbeknownst to me, the Historical Society had the same plan. Kathy was meeting with the Historical Society and thinking, do you think we should restore a cemetery? And they went by and chose the Carrithers Cemetery. Next, what happened was the Historical Society decided to have a picnic in the cemetery. They brought their picnic baskets and blankets, laid them out, sat down, got a feel for the cemetery and said, do we really want to do this? They decided yes, they wanted to take it on. The Cooper family heard about it and they said, yes, we're on board. So Cooper family and the Spencer County Historical and Genealogical Society mended together and we started the restoration of the Carrithers Family Cemetery. So this is day one. This is the first day. Let me go back a little bit. So once the immediate family passed. Hey, Kim, how are you?
Hi, when was that picture taken?
4 years ago now.
3 years. Oh, no, that's Kimberly. I had that thing in my garage where I thought it was.
Oh, this picture? This one I found on the internet.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So once the immediate family passed, Virgil Carrithers started taking care of the cemetery. When he passed, Mary Lou started taking over the cemetery and keeping it up.
Didn't do so good, did I?
He did a great, did a fine job. But in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, it just started to have some overgrowth and it just got beyond the point where one person could take it on. And so then for about 40 years, it just grew and grew and grew until you really couldn't even see the cemetery. So this is our first day. If you look right here in this picture, this is what we could see of the entrance. It wasn't much. We didn't even really know a cemetery was back there. So on the first day, we had this crew, brave, brave souls, went into that cemetery and kind of tunneled their way in to try to do this cleanup. It was a rough day because what they had to do at first was just create space that they could even be in the cemetery. So that first day, they finally were able to see a little bit of sunlight and they were able to see some of the headstones, and they felt accomplished after that first day. Next thing that would happen is the Historical Society decided we're going to need some help with this. If we're going to do all 200 cemeteries in Spencer County, we can't be going back and checking on these cemeteries and seeing what needs to be done. So we decided to have an adoption program. And each cemetery, we'd get somebody to adopt it. Linda Angel, will you stand up and give us a little wave? She was the first person to come forward to adopt a cemetery. She's a Carrithers descendant. And she said, yes, I will take care of this cemetery. When something happens that we need help, I will call the Historical Society and say, it's time, come help me clean up. She just is the caregiver of this cemetery, and we're so happy that she's a part of this. So then we did a second cleanup. You can see in the pictures, you're starting to be able to see the headstones. You're starting to be able to see some sunlight. We've got a lot of brush down, and we're making some progress. Now you can see the entrance, and you can actually see into the cemetery, and you can see some of those headstones. This, what looks like just a little bit of time, took a whole year. It was work, a lot of work. So we started off year number 2, and in the spring we had a big storm go through, and down came some trees. One of the trees hit a headstone, broke it clear in half. Poor Edna, she was broken. And so we hadn't been looking up yet. We had just been looking down at the ground level. So then we started looking up, and we realized, oh, we've got some really dead big trees that if these winds come again, we could see some more damage. So we started looking at how are we going to get these trees down. So you can see this was a huge one over to the right side. This one was right in the middle, and this one was off to the left. So this was in the main part where they would fall on the headstones. We didn't even start looking around the back and the front where if they fell, it wouldn't hit much. Those ones we left for later. We were just concerned about what was in the area where the headstones were. So, as we're thinking about the headstones, now we've cut down about 200 little trees. And everybody's tripping because we've got little stumps everywhere. And we're wondering, we need to work on this tripping hazard. But our budget was nothing. So, how are we going to get all these stumps out? So we started digging. And we dug, and we dug, and we dug. And we probably got maybe 40 or 50 of those stumps out. And then we realized, you know what, we're going to have to come up with some money. In the meantime, we started burning some of the brush. We started burning it in the cemetery because that's the space we had. Soon we realized we can't have big enough burn piles in the cemetery because it's too small of a space. So my husband, way back there, he, after work every night, he'd go load up a whole load of brush, bring it back home to our burn pile. Then the next night he'd go get a whole nother load of brush, bring it home to our burn pile. And he is a very loving husband because he did that for a good couple weeks. So soon we discovered that we needed to clean the headstones. The headstones had been there for about 200 years, and there was a little bit of wear and tear on those headstones. So I called Arlington National Cemetery. How do you clean your headstones? What's safe? They suggested D2. It's an organic cleaner, and they said it's the only thing you can use on headstones. Do not use anything else. And there is one headstone in the cemetery that we think somebody used bleach to clean, maybe back in the 60s or 70s. Because it's done something called sugaring, where the bleach eats that stone and then it just kind of flakes off like sand. And that's called sugaring. So the Arlington National Cemetery said only use D2 because it is proven that it won't eat away at the stone and it won't damage your stone. And then we got to work. We figured out how to clean the headstones. A couple of us went to a class over in Bardstown where they learned how to clean headstones, lended their expertise to the cemetery. And we had some headstone cleaning parties and got those headstones looking pretty good. And that was the end of year number 2. Year number 1 and 2, we kind of focused on the main part of the cemetery. So where the headstones are. But now you can really see the cemetery from the road. Year number 3 starts off with a bang. We started working on the side and the back of the cemetery. Once we did this, the cemetery almost doubled in size. So there was a big tree in the back, and you can see it right here. We think lightning might have hit it, and it made it fall all the way down. But instead of dying, that tree decided, well, I'm just going to grow straight back up. So this tree covered the whole back of the cemetery. So we met a gentleman, Timmy Armstrong. Timmy backed his truck right up to that tree, right next to Reuben. See how close he is to Reuben? And he started cutting. George, where are you, George? George had cut down most of these limbs here on this side before Timmy got there. So George did most of the heavy lifting back there. Then Timmy came and cut the rest of the side of that tree down. And then we started getting busy on cleaning up under where that tree was. So now the back of the cemetery is all cleared out. We were hoping to find some headstones back there. There weren't any back there. Then we got to work on the side. Oh, but first we had another big headstone cleaning party. I think we had about 12 people there that day. Taught everybody how to clean headstones, and we just went row by row. Everybody sat up at a different headstone, and we just started cleaning together, and then we moved to another row and started cleaning. That day, we almost finished every headstone in the cemetery. But you can see the difference. So this is a before, and then an after. And then here is Elvira, the before and the after. Now, when you're using D2, when you first start cleaning, it turns all the moss and the lichen and all of the stuff that's grown on the headstone, it turns it red. So you clean and you expect to see a white stone right away, but it almost turns red first. So when you're cleaning headstones, you say before, after, and later. So when you look up here later, after the presentation's over, I have a couple pictures where it's before, after, and later, and you can see the reddish of the stones right after you're done cleaning it. So when I have the after, I went back 2 weeks later, and that's how the stones look real white. So finally, we had enough money that we could get a stump grinder. We rented a little stump grinder, and we thought, oh, we'll take care of all these stumps, because now we've uncovered the back, the side, the front. We thought, oh yeah, we'll just knock this out in one day. Well, it didn't work quite like that. 8 hours later, sweat drenched, we had just a little section done. We got new signs. You see your historical society at work. We got those signs so that we could put them in the ground so that when people are driving by and waving at us, and we get lots of people who stop and wave at us. They know what's going on. They just don't, think that some hoodlum is in there with a stump grinder. And then the fiscal court. Is anybody here from the fiscal court? I was hoping somebody would come. So Scott Travis and the Spencer County Fiscal Court saw that we were doing the cemetery restoration, and they said, what can we do to get behind you? And they said, we can't come out and work, but we can put some money aside. So the county government put some money aside for cemetery restoration, and they bought us this beautiful sign that's now in front of the cemetery. Then this is one of my favorite days. Laura, are you here? Yay! So, some big-time puzzlers like Laura Shelty over there, we all got together because we don't know when, maybe in the 60s or 70s, the Carrithers, not only were they a very loving family, but they were a pretty well-off family. Not only did they have headstones, they had footstones. I didn't even know a footstone was something. I quickly learned. So we had this big pile that was in the middle of the cemetery. Whole bunch of headstones. Why are they there? Well, somebody got tired of mowing around all the headstones, around all the footstones, so they just picked up the footstones, dug them out of the ground, threw them all in a heap. So we got our best puzzlers together, and we pulled all of those out and started matching them up. So Cindy and Craig would call out, do you have an AC? And then we'd be walking around, yeah, I got an AC over here. And we'd try to match them up. But there were a lot of Adam Carrithers. So you couldn't just match up the AC. You kind of had to start looking at the style of the headstone to see if the style of the footstone matched. And by the end of the day, I think we matched up 50? 50 footstones with the headstones. It was a fun day. That pile wasn't just one layer. It was a second layer, a third layer, and then a fourth layer.
Some kind of in the ground.
We just kept digging and digging and digging. It was pretty amazing. I would say that that was my best day at the cemetery, but this has got to be my best day at the cemetery. We got a call from a gentleman in St. Louis, a Carrithers descendant. I'll tell you this story because he's given me permission to tell it. His father left his family when he was a young boy. Never knew his father, never knew anybody by the Carrithers name. Kind of was almost embarrassed by the Carrithers name. And he started researching, and my old neighbor from when we lived in J-Town, is friends with him because they went to high school together in Missouri. And she said, wait, somebody out in Spencer County is restoring a Carrithers Cemetery. Could this be your family? And he's like, I don't think so, I'm from Missouri. Well, he started researching. Sure enough, these are his ancestors. So he jumps in the car, makes a trip here, and I'm so excited. I'm gonna invite all the descendants. We'll meet you at the cemetery, this is gonna be great. And he's like, no, Terry, I'm a little nervous about that. I'm kind of embarrassed about the name. I'm kind of leery about that name. My father left us. I don't know about the Carrithers. So he came to the cemetery. Mary Lou showed up. And it was the most tearful reunion I ever experienced. And by the end of the day, he said, I just feel like this is home. He was going to be here tonight, and he has now asked, can I be buried in that cemetery? Because it just feels right. It just feels like I was supposed to come home to this place the entire time. So Mary Lou and Kim are kind of looking into, can he be buried in that cemetery? Because if it feels like home to him, and he's a Carrithers, I think that that's where he should be. So that was my absolute favorite day in the cemetery. And you know, I think that that's why we do this. If I was close to my family's cemetery, I'd be doing it at my family's cemetery. But this is what I'm close to. I'm just right around the corner from this cemetery. And if I do this for somebody else's family, maybe somebody up in Ohio will be doing it for my family. So we all just get together and do it for each other. But this kind of embodied exactly why we do it. So now we finally solved the brush pile dilemma. We got permission to start burning brush in an open field behind the cemetery, and man, did that make life easier. So we're dragging everything to the back, burning all the brush, and my goodness, when you're cleaning up a cemetery, boy, do you create a lot of brush. So we still had more headstones to clean. There's that red. See on Ruth there how red it turns? When you use that D2, it just kills all the live stuff. And then about 2 weeks later, if you get a good rain, it'll rinse it all right off, and that's when you see the headstone go back to the white. So Kim had the original Carrithers Cemetery sign sitting in her barn, and she finally said, Terry, it is time to get that sign back up. You better do it right now. She repainted it. She got dark paint in the lettering, and we went to the store and got the posts, and boy, the Owens, George and Erica Owens, and me and my husband, we got that sign back up, and oh, does it look good. It was so nice to get that sign back up. So while we were there, we decided, you know, with that sign up, we better get the front of the cemetery all cleared out because people are going to want to see that sign. So we started working on that little corner and got it all cleaned up. This is my right-hand gal, Michelle. She's a worker. I wish she was here tonight because you'd really enjoy her. Then we got joined by the Spencer County Master Gardeners, And boy, are they a crew. Oh, I expected some. Cindy's a master gardener, and she invited the rest of her team to come join us. And there again, burn pile isn't ever going to end. So last year we finished off the year by Steve. Where are you? I've lost you. Oh, Steve volunteered to take down 2 of our dead trees. So he got those trees down, and then we started cleaning up, and oh, was it nice to have those trees down. It was, every time there was a storm, every time thunder and lightning, I'd be sitting at home saying, oh no, what's going on? And then I'd drive over, okay, we're all right. So Steve got those trees down, and we started cleaning up, and we had a great cleanup party that day and got the cemetery ready for winter. Oh, that was the day that we had 2 high school students. So Jaden, where are you? Jaden is a Spencer County High School student. He and a friend, Ethan, and they're not really even, they don't run around in the same circle, but they know each other. But they each came.
They run around together.
Oh, they do. They run around together. So they both volunteered, but I didn't know they knew each other. I got texts from them separately saying, hey, you got any volunteer work? Jaden said, my brother said that you're doing this really cool project. Can I help? And then Ethan's mom said, hey, my son needs some stuff to do. Do you got anything? So they showed up for this cleanup, and oh, we just had a ball with them. It was nice to have some young people around that could lift and move and do some good work.
Stoop and get back up. It's always a good thing.
Yes. Cindy is such a worker. She just comes every time I call. She shows up and she works and she works and she works. And then I'm like, I've got to take a break. Cindy's like, I'm good. So Cindy worked on the side and got it all cleaned up. And that brings us to the end of year number 3. And look how good the cemetery is looking now. All right. Year number 4, Steve becomes our hero. He got the 2 trees down, and then we had, let me look at my next slide. Then, he got those 2 trees down, and when he took the trees down, he said, you know what, Terry, when I take that tree down, I'm going to need you to move that headstone. So I said, honey, can you come move that headstone for me? So we moved the headstone.
Didn't surprise me at all.
We moved that headstone. Steve got the trees down, and then out of nowhere comes a Carrithers descendant, and he says, you know, I've been watching you for about the past 3 years. I thought maybe you'd get started, and then you just quit. But I've seen you there every week for 3 years. I'm ready to help. And I said, where have you been my whole life? He immediately hired somebody to take down trees, took down that big tree, took down trees we hadn't even looked at. And then Steve, who would have liked to have done it for money, but didn't get that opportunity, said, sure, Terry, I'll come and help you for free again. He comes and starts hauling all those trees because they just downed them and left them. And boy, was it a lot of work. We had several people that would make piles, and then Steve would come pick them up and take them back to the burn pile, and then we'd make another pile, and he'd come and grab it and take it back. So we were all exhausted by the end of that day, but man, was it nice to get those trees down. When Steve came back to help, he said, okay, Terry, if you're gonna make me, I'll take out some of your stumps. He took out 30 stumps for us that day. 30. You can see why Steve is our hero. While Steve was cutting up the wood and carrying it back to the burn pile, Michelle decided she wanted to clear out the side of the fence. And there were, what do you call them, prickers?
Briar.
Yes. She got in there, and you see the 2 sections of fence there? That was about 4 hours of work with and she had stuff just sticking out everywhere. But she was so proud of that big old pile, she said, look, it's as tall as me. And then Scott Travis and the State Highway Department comes in, and they put in a new culvert across the front of the cemetery. Dug out the, I don't want to call it a ditch, dug out the creek, what do you call it?
Drainage.
So dug it out, put in a new culvert, laid rock over top. So now if you want to come visit the cemetery, you can actually pull in and park there. Whereas before, we didn't really have a spot to park. So it is so nice to have that spot up there with a place to park. All right, so next, I'm going to call Craig up to the front. He has got something special that he wants to present. So Craig is one of our helpers. He's got a chainsaw and shows up whenever I call him. He's also a whittler. Am I saying the right thing? A woodworker.
Woodworker. Yeah, it works.
And he's made something special.
Well, specifically, the last 3 years or so, I've learned how to turn on a lathe, and I've made quite a few pieces. Our house is looks like a bowl factory. Anyway, that one tree that was in that corner that had the branch coming out like this, where they backed up and they cut the branch and then they cut some more branch. Well, those pieces were taken. I wasn't there that day. I wish I had been, because I might have gotten some bigger pieces.
There were big pieces.
But there were some smaller pieces put to the side, and she wanted to know if I wanted to do anything with them. And so I took a couple pieces, the biggest piece or two that I could find, which wasn't a whole lot. And turned out that wood is Osage orange. Y'all might be familiar with the big green road apple trees. Well, that's Osage orange, and it's very yellow, very, very yellow when you cut it. It's very pretty. Over time, it turns brown after it's been made into something. But anyway, so I took these home and I made a bowl. It's a very simple bowl that we decided we were going to give it to
Linda, who is adopted at the cemetery. Would you like to come forward, Linda? Craig has something he'd like to present to you.
Anyway, it's
Oh, that's so cute. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, thank you. Very nice.
it has a date on it.
Yeah.
It's the date.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I love it. I love
I wish I had more of that.
it. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Certainly.
Hey, take a picture together real quick.
Wait a minute. Turn it. This way. So you can see the inside. Oh. There.
Right here.
It's beautiful.
So on the bottom it says Carrithers Cemetery, and Craig was so excited when he made that for you.
Missing the days.
It still brings a tear to my eyes. We're so happy to have you as the head of the cemetery. All right, so now we got to talk about what's next. We got a couple more steps that we've got to take in this cemetery. We're getting real close. But we've still got some things to do. So our next step, we've got some headstones that need some repair. You can see in these pictures, this is poor little Delancey Dale, the short stubby guy. He's fallen over and he can't get up. We've got to do something about him. We've got, I think, 7 headstones that need fixed up. I knew I was gonna need help with this part, because I was kind of lost. So I joined a group over in Shelbyville called Grove Hill Cemetery Friends. And they get together once a month, 2 days in a row, and they have 2 groups. One group cleans headstones, one group